His teacher was paralysis. Her teacher was addiction. With love, they found each other. You are here now for the Conscious Couple podcast.
Welcome to the Conscious Couple.
That was a great intro, huh?
That was a great intro. That's my Always Sunny in Philadelphia when Charlie is going up on stage and when Dee is doing the stand up where she just constantly dry heaves.
It's a great episode.
What's
if
the
you
deal
have
with-
not watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and you need a good laugh.
Come on.
then-
Get with it.
Yeah.
Come on. Next up is Charlie Kelly. You're welcome. Anyway, here we are.
Here we are.
I don't know what number this is, and just if you didn't notice, we do not say we are live because we are not live.
I didn't say it this time.
We are alive somewhere at this very moment, and who knows where that may be.
No.
We don't know
We don't know.
where we are right now.
We don't know.
Right?
Right.
So, I mean, have we ever known where we are in any particular place and time?
We never know.
Never know. Anyway, so today I'm kind of leading this in a way. God help us all.
I am handing over the reins.
That was really strange. Anyway,
Don't
so
do that again.
I
in other
guess
words.
I'll be honest. This is what happens when I'm in charge. I really don't know what to do next now.
Okay.
What are we here to talk about today?
Honey, you are leading the show this time.
Okay, so are we here
I'm
to talk
giving the
about
power to
your
you.
story of
Today's
addiction?
podcast
What are we
is
talking
about addiction. Today's
Okay.
podcast is how to move through addiction, how to heal addiction, how to apply certain principles or practices to move beyond addiction. And trust me, this isn't going to be like your typical run-of-the-mill, like how most people talk about addiction or how to deal with addiction. That's not what you're going to hear today. You'll probably hear something pretty radically different than you maybe have normally heard about addiction, especially if you're tuning into us for the first time, especially if this is your first podcast.
Well,
with us.
and the reason why we can do this is because you were an addict. And you know that this is what I always loved about my little journey and listening to people. I love listening to people's stories because when you see somebody that has overcome something or is living the life that you want, like, you know, I always knew that at a very young age. Listen, if you want to find a role model that is living the life that you want and then go after, do what they did. Right.
Simple.
But you know, loosely do what they did. But the number one thing to take away is they can live that life. So surely you can live that life. Right. Okay. And as two people that are here that obviously, you know, people hear my story ad nauseum, and I can be here in this relationship and in the life that we live. We have, I mean, a lot of time freedom, which I think is very, very underrated. Mm-hmm. We have, you know, love.
I don't think it's underrated.
We got love. And we have laughter. We have laughter. Does anybody remember laughter? If for any Led Zeppelin fans out there, you know what I'm talking about. And so we really have kind of, I am very grateful for the life that we live. Grateful. Because, very grateful. So grateful. Very grateful.
So grateful.
The most grateful. Because it's taken a lot to get here. And we, just so everybody understands our backstory, none of us came from money. None of us, meaning her, me, or the other 7 people that are standing here.
Yeah.
None of us came from money.
Yeah.
None of us came from, you know, we're just everyday folk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And is he back there? No, he's not back there.
Somewhere.
So it is, we are just like anybody else.
Yeah.
We are just regular people
Yeah.
that have struggled in their life. We have been through heartbreak in different ways. We have been through tragedies in different ways. We have been through the struggles, and firm believers, both of us, I think we would agree that that's why we are where we are.
100%.
And, you know, I guess that leads us up to a little bit about your story, your I'm going to say your quiet battle with addiction, because it was a hidden battle, which I think a lot of people, will, I was going to say will resonate with your story of addiction, only because it's so everyday. It's the everyday mom that is, where did her life go? And what happened to me? Like, what happened? It's all about my husband, my home, and my kids. What about me? Where am I left in this equation? And I think that's a perfect place for you to pick up.
Yeah, I think, like I said, that you're going to hear from me and from him as we discuss addiction in this episode, something radically different perhaps than you've heard before, maybe not. But especially, like I said, if this is your first time tuning into us, we have a much different perspective on addiction. In fact, I don't ever believe it's about the substance that you're using or the thing that you're using. It's about the emotions behind it, as with everything else. So also in line with what you're saying about, we're just regular people. We don't come from money. Like, it's not like we have this, bank account hidden somewhere with, whatever.
I keep looking. I keep searching. I create my reality, correct?
Yeah. They agree.
They agree.
They want you
You're
to
welcome.
know.
This is our life.
They
is
want
when
you to know
talking.
to listen right now. This is important to pay attention to. So in line with that, I just want to say there are so many people that I know when they see, you and I, or even when they see me speaking my nonsense on any of my other social media platforms, and they may look and think, well, easy for you to say.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
easy for you to say. You have a partner now that supports you. You have this, you have that, you have all of these things. Easy for you to say. And I just want to say to that, and this is why I wanted to share my story today of a quiet struggle, because it's not just my story. It's so many people's story. And it was not easy for me to say, trust me, in some very, very challenging, hard, on the floor, on my knees moments that took just a lot of strength to say, I can't live this way anymore, and not listen to every single reason why I couldn't. I could have said, well, I am a mom. I can't leave my kids. I am a wife. I am all of these things, and I can't do those things. And then I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you right now. So I just want to say that, when I talk about my story of addiction, it's to show you that I am you. It is not easy for me to say. I am no different. He is no different than any one of you. We are not gurus. We are not saints. We're just normal, everyday people that just decide to have a very low tolerance for unhappiness. That's it.
I love that. A very low intolerance for unhappiness.
Yeah. So, my struggle with addiction started at really a very young age. I think the first time I smoked pot, I was, 13. First time I got drunk, I think it was 14. So I wasn't ever shy to substance abuse. I was always trying to cover up some way I was feeling on the inside. Ultimately, that was the problem. I felt different. I felt like something was wrong with me in the world. Like maybe I didn't fit in the world. I felt deeper than most people. Just all of these things. And it was really easy to use something outside of me to change that. And so it really started at a young age, and, drank too much, partied too much, started doing drugs at a really young age. And so that was no surprise to me. But I remember the first time I took an opiate, which opiates probably are, I would say, one of the most abused drugs now, I bet.
Probably.
I would honestly say that, because they're prescribed by doctors.
Sure.
So all of a sudden you lose the stigma.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That's, yeah.
Just here's.
Yeah.
Here's a prescription.
A doctor prescribes it, so it can't be that
Yeah.
bad, right? And at the time I was going to college full time. I was working and I had my son. I was divorced from his dad. And I had got into my social work program in college, and it's really stressful, of course, single mom, working and going to school. And someone gave me a pain pill, a hydrocodone, and they said, this will help with your stress and anxiety. And I took it, and I felt great. I felt amazing. Like I could take everything on. And so that again in my life, oh, here's something that on the outside will cover up this feeling on the inside. And so that started it started when I was in my third year of college. And so that just maintained at a really low level. And then I met my previous ex-husband, and just kept doing it, because then I entered into a life that did not feel in alignment, that felt dysfunctional, but I didn't want to face that because I was in the situation I was in. So keep taking the pills, even more of a reason to cover it up. I did stop when I was pregnant with my daughter. I stopped taking the pain pills, because you just you just make up your mind that's what you do. Quit smoking, quit pain pills. And then as soon as, of course, I have her, guess what the doctor gives you? Pain pills. Right? So the doctor gives you pain pills when you have a child, because you experience a lot of pain right afterwards, obviously. And then picked it right back up like best friends again. And I continued that for basically 10 years. And as you said, it was a private thing. Nobody knew about it except for my ex-husband. And it allowed me to maintain a life that I knew was not in alignment with who I was really supposed to be. And as you said, for me, my journey and my story has been about, I was the mom, the wife, the daughter-in-law. Like, I was the caretaker of everyone. And in fact, I remember when my mom moved to Kellogg, and she stayed with us for a couple of weeks. And I was, we had our own private Airbnb business. I worked full time. We had 3 kids between us. We had property. We were, always busy. And I remember her saying to me at one point, like, do you realize you can't keep this all up, right? Like, you realize this is impossible to maintain. You're going to get sick. And that thought of, if I don't do something different, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get cancer. I know, something intuitively knew that if I don't stop this life, then something is going to happen. But the thing is, the pain pills kept me numb. They, and you can talk pain pills, you can talk antidepressants, you can talk anxiety meds, you can talk any other kind of actual drug. And I will say the number one theme to all of those is numbness.
Sure. They're numbing agents.
Numbing. They will all numb you.
So what are they numbing you from?
Well, they were numbing me from having to come to the reality that I was not living the life that I knew I should be living. I was living the life on the outside that everybody told me I should be living. And that's the normal thing, right? That's the box that we fit in. And then here's the thing. When you aren't happy and you're living in that box, then you think something's wrong with you. Well, I must just be spoiled, right? I just must be a spoiled brat. I think I heard that many times from my ex-husband. You're just spoiled because something's wrong with you. You have all these things. You should be happy. Well, that's because I lived in a culture that told me the outside will make you happy on the inside. Yeah. And if you're not happy with the outside things, then something's wrong with you. Yes. Then you have the problem, not everything else. That's the culture we live in. That these outside things will make you happy, and if you're not, then something's wrong with you. Instead of going, those outside things will never actually keep you happy. It's how you feel on the inside about yourself. And I want to share a really defining moment for me. It was like, a few months into reading Dr. Joe's book and started meditating and started like practicing these concepts of, you could say spiritual concepts or self-help, whatever. I started really doing it on a daily basis. And I was sitting, I'll never forget, I was sitting at our table during the day and I'm doing our taxes. It was like in end of January, early February. I was doing our taxes and I was watching Oprah's Super Soul series, and Diana Nyad was on, and she swam from Cuba to Florida broke the world record. She tried, I think, 4 or 5 times and failed. And it was her 6th time. She's like almost 70. She did this. Amazing woman. And Oprah's like, oh my gosh, she had just broken this record like a month before. And so that's why Oprah had her on. She was like, oh my gosh, aren't you proud? Like, aren't you so proud that you did this thing? And like, you know, you're going to just be known for forever because of this swim that you did and all these times that you didn't. And you kept going. And she was like, I swear to God to you, Oprah, she didn't really believe in God. She just believed in people and nature and, you know, whatever. But she said, I don't care about any of that. What drives me is that the day that I die, am I proud of the person I am? Like, did I live life the best that I could? Am I proud of me? And that moment I was like, I am not fucking proud of me. I'm not proud of the life I lead. And, you know, again, some would say, well, why would you not? You did all the things you were supposed to do. But I knew I was not showing my kids what a true life lived looked like. Like, easy to stay in the box and do what others tell you should do. A whole different story to start stepping outside that box and start doing things differently than what the norm, what culture tells you to do. And I knew if I was ever going to tell my kids, you can live a great life. You can live beyond addiction. You can live, you can just live happy, which may not look like what other people tell you is happy. You may not be working the job that people tell you is the job you're supposed to work. You may not be with a partner that people tell you you're supposed to be with. You may not even be living with your children, right? But if I'm going to tell you you can do that you can be brave with your life, I better be willing to be brave with my life. I will not tell them to do something that I'm not willing to do in my own life. That has now turned into not just with my kids, but the people that I work with in my programs. I'm not going to tell you to do something I haven't done. And so when people come into my programs and they say, easy for you to say, something that I tell them all the time is I do not ask you to do anything I haven't done, which makes me not accept any excuses because I've seen what he's done in his life and I've seen what I have done in my life and I've seen what we've done in our lives together. And we've had to navigate some really challenging situations with our kids, with our exes, with our former friends, with our former family members, with healing a body that didn't want to move, with putting myself through pain pill withdrawal. That was the worst experience I've ever been through in my life. I will tell you from those experiences, there's never an excuse that you can give me that I will believe you. There's no excuse you can give me to say, well, yeah, I can't do that. You can do that because you do this. No, I had to take every last step to get here. And so that, you know, the 1 year of taking pain pills quickly turned into 10. It was 10 years. And it wasn't until I went to, you know, I think you shared on one of the episodes your experience with the balls of light and the, you know, the heart opening at a Dr. Joe event. And for me, that was, I think, my 3rd time being there. And it was at Indian Wells Advanced Workshop. And I was in a walking meditation and had, you know, similar to your experience in that you had an experience that changed you for forever. For me, it wasn't, I didn't see balls of light, but I felt electricity move through my body as if literally I was being plugged into a socket, and I could feel the frequency of source of God or whatever is beyond this 3D world run through my body. And when you experience something like that, you can't go back to being the same. You just can't. And that was on a Friday morning. And then the workshop ended on Sunday. That was on Friday morning, that workshop. I honestly kind of forgot to take them. I hadn't, you know, beyond being pregnant, I hadn't gone one day, one moment. I mean, you know, when we're talking, this wasn't like a light addiction. Like at one point I was taking 10 hydrocodones at a time just to function, which means I was taking up to like 30 a day just to function. And so it wasn't just like, oh, here and there. It was my body had grown such a tolerance to them. I had to take more and more and more, not even to get high, but just to function as a mom and all of these things. And so I had this experience Saturday. I sort of forgot to take it. And by Sunday, I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't taken any in 2 days. And I talked to actually it was the first time I told a Estelle, our Estelle. It was the first time I spoke the words out loud that I'm addicted. Nobody else knew. I'd never even, shameful to say the words out loud. That's the first part of addiction, is like, if I say it out loud, then that means I have to change it.
It's real.
It's real. It's real.
Yep.
I have to feel the shame, and then I have to do something about it. So that's the first step.
That's the big matzo ball, because as we know now, it's hiding behind that curtain
100%.
of shame that keeps you behind the curtain of shame.
100%.
So when you come out and you say, yeah, well, I have a $350,000 IRS debt.
Right.
Because I'm a loser,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, because that's what we think.
Yeah, I'm addicted to pain pills because I am a loser.
Yeah.
I'm
a loser.
I'm a fraud. That's the big one.
Yeah.
I'm a fraud.
Yeah.
My life is a fraud.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I'm living this life that doesn't show this IRS debt. It doesn't show the prescription pills on my nightstand,
Perfect.
And I think for both of us, it is pulling back that curtain and saying, here I am with all my flaws, with all my faults, and with all my fraudism. Yeah. Then here it is. And okay, that's cool. What do you mean? You still like me? You still want to hang out with me? Like, maybe you didn't hear me correctly, and because we are so terrified to come out behind that curtain of whatever it is for you, For you, it was addiction. Yeah. For me, there was a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, that makes me emotional because it was actually that.
Yeah.
The moment that I told our friend Estelle, on Sunday before leaving the workshop, I said it out loud. I'm addicted to pain pills. And she just said, okay. So like, now what? And that relief, like you said, of here's my deepest, darkest, biggest shadow that I'm terrified of. Will you still love me?
Yeah.
And she said, yes, of course.
I love you more.
I love you more.
That's the thing. I
love you more.
And honestly, I think that's what having experienced that is the thing that I want somebody to experience, probably more than anything, is to step out behind their shame, behind their failure, and to be seen for who they really are.
Yeah.
And to know that we all have that.
Yeah.
It's all of us. We all have our thing that we're ashamed of.
Yeah.
We all have that thing that we're going to be judged on. Yeah. And I just don't want to be judged. So I'm just going to continue to hang behind this curtain. And it takes such effort to hang behind that curtain. It takes such energy. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And
it is so mentally exhausting.
Hence why
emotionally.
Pain pills actually almost act like speed for me. That's what it was. It was a way for me to keep up this persona on the outside that everything was great, and it was not. My marriage was not good.
Yeah.
I was, waking up every day not happy, not happy with me, not happy with the person that I was pretending to be on the outside. I was not happy with that person, but I couldn't. You can't tell anyone that. Nobody talks about that. Nobody says, you know what, as a mom, I'm really freaking tired of my kids today. Like, I love them with every ounce of core of my being, but I'm freaking tired.
Yeah.
I don't feel like cooking dinner tonight. I've been working all day and I'm tired. And I don't feel like, setting your clothes out for you because I'm tired. Like this secret resentment and anger that we build up inside, but nobody talks about because you're not supposed to. You're just supposed to put on the hat of mom, wife, daughter, business owner, whatever, and you're just supposed to deal with it, which is such a masculine energy. Keep up and do it. Pull your bootstraps up and just do it every day. So,
work through the pain.
To sort of wrap this up, on Sunday, after letting that out, letting the cat out of the bag, speaking my shame to her, I went home the next day, flew home. I ended up leaving the house on Monday. My husband at the time sat down in the bed and I literally said the words, I have to go, and didn't even know I could say those words. They just came out of my mouth. And I remember driving to my mom's that night and the freedom that I felt, like, oh my God, I'm actually, I was terrified. I was freaking terrified, but I'm like, this is the first ounce of freedom I have felt since I was a child, like driving. I remember driving to our house being like, I'm fucking free. I'm free. And, you know, I remember that night thinking, I'm not going to have any withdrawal symptoms because I was so high, of course, after coming back from this workshop. I'm not going to have any withdrawal symptoms. But when I tried to sleep that night, of course, my body started to react. And so for the next few days, I took just a small amount just to keep the withdrawals at bay. But then about 5 days after being home, I said, okay, I'm done. Like the thing I said to myself is, if I am going to continue forward in the life that I want to create, I can't take this addiction, which we'll talk about. I can't take this addiction that Emily owns into that new life. If I'm really, really serious about it, I can't take it with me. And I made a decision that night that I would completely go cold turkey. And, you know, my mom at the time, I was staying with her and she was helping take care of the kids. I couldn't have done it without her. And, you know, she said, you don't have to do this. You can wean, you can, you know, and I had other people tell me, you don't have to do this. And I'm, some would say stubborn.
Oh my God. Extra. I mean, you're extra.
We use the word
and
extra
stubborn.
now. We use the word extra now, but I just knew I had it in me and I had to make that decision. And so I went through, you know, the first initial 24 hours were pure hell. It took about a week for it to finally, you know, for me to finally feel into my body.
Yeah.
I realized that I didn't even know what it had felt like to feel in my body, to feel good in my body, to feel not numb, to feel alive. And it took an incredible amount of stubbornness, of commitment, second to second to second, that first 24 hours, because it feels as if there's bugs, thousands and thousands of bugs crawling inside your skin and on the outside, and there's nothing you can do to get rid of that sensation. You feel like you're losing your mind. You actually think that feeling is going to last forever. I actually believed, what if this feeling never goes away? What if I'm stuck in this feeling? And I tried to meditate, I tried to watch things, but, you know, nothing. And there was moments where I said, feel this to the max, like feel this so you remember never to go back here. And I remember finally at 4 a.m. laying on the bathroom floor or the kitchen floor and finally getting some sleep and, you know, waking up the next day, not feeling great, but knowing like I can get through this. And Estelle, once again, she, you know, I texted her and it was the next morning around 9. And I said, I don't know how much longer I can do this. Like as the time passes, I'm feeling weaker and weaker. I don't know. I don't think I can do this. And she said something that totally switched it. She said, actually, with every moment, you're getting stronger and stronger because you're further away from it. And I went, oh my God, she's right. Yeah. And so after about a week, like I said, it was out of my system. But I told myself, if I can get through that, I can get through anything in my life. And so what we want to discuss with you now, that was my process of going through that. I would not, just to make everybody aware, I don't recommend that you just cold turkey off things. That was my journey and that was for me, and I knew I was in that place. I can tell you it's possible if your mindset's right about it. Anything's possible, but I'm not telling you tomorrow go cold turkey. You need to listen to your own intuition about that. Yeah. It's possible if that's what you choose to do. But for me, as we approach the work that we now teach, and you know, that the journey did not end there. It just started. The day that those came out, and then we actually came together. I think like 2 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, down in Cabo, which will be in 2 weeks. That was just the beginning of the journey. There was many more decisions after that involved our kids, involved me moving across the country, involved family members we lost, involved a lot of crying on bathroom floors together.
Oh, and a lot of laying in that bedroom.
Laying in the bedroom. A lot of joy. A lot of joy,
boys.
but a lot of not knowing where this would lead.
Idea.
But we knew we had to take those steps, and where those steps led was here sitting in front of you, telling you that no matter what it is that you think you can't do, you can, because I can sit here and tell you those 24 hours I went through were pure hell. They were hell. They were the worst thing I could ever imagine. I've birthed 2 children. That's the worst pain ever. but that was it's not just physical, it's mental. You know, and when you're doing it on your own, you're not in a medical facility or anything like that, it's really easy to think that you're losing your mind. And you know, at one point I said, if I had a gun here, I would shoot myself, because there's no way I'm going to make it through this. But now I understand, and like I said, with what we both teach now, I have a unique perspective. I'm glad that I went through that journey, because I know what it feels like to withdraw now in my body, and I understand addiction at a deeper level. And it is never about the addiction to the substance. It's about the addiction to the emotions that you're trying to cover up with the substance. Yep. So, you know, you and me have talked about this before, and maybe we can go into this a little bit. You know, when we hear people talk about alcoholics, that it's not the alcohol. You're not an alcoholic. You have trauma. You know, we'll use that word. You have beliefs. You have chemical feelings, emotions that you are actually addicted to. And the alcohol is just a way to cover that all up.
Well, yeah, it's, you know, it's kind of it's the car that you drive. You know what I mean? If it wasn't alcohol, it would be something else, because it's the pain underneath that's the problem. You know, the pain underneath, and that pain can be pain that you have held from when you were a little boy or a little girl.
That's right.
Chances are it is. And that's where the shame comes from. When, you know, maybe you went to school and you wore your shirt inside out and everybody made fun of you, and that shame carried into, you know, having an IRS debt. You know what I mean? It really is that simple. And, you know, for somebody, and if somebody, you know, if this resonates with you and you are hiding behind that curtain of judgment, of doubt, of feeling like you're just a fucking fraud, you know, whether, you know, maybe you have a gambling addiction, or it never starts out as, you know, gee, I can't wait to be an addict.
Right.
We're all addicts.
We are all addicts.
I mean, if you hear anything,
addicts.
We are all addicts, because we're not addicted to the gambling. We're not addicted to the porn. We're not addicted to those things. What we are addicted to is the feelings that we feel on an everyday basis. And if we all understand that that's how we're built, that's how the human condition is built, is to basically be an addict to our feelings, then that kind of gives it a different perspective. And we all know what we put our attention on, it persists, right? That's what the science has told us. That's what, you know, that's what the feedback has been. So if you're always thinking about the alcohol, if you're always thinking about, you know, the gambling, then that's always going to persist.
Right.
But if you understand that it is the feelings underneath that, then it becomes a different ball game. So if, you know, you are that, and I'll be honest with you, I think it's more the minority are the people who don't have that.
Yeah, right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It really is okay.
You're not a bad person.
You're not a bad person. If you look at it in a different way, I will tell you, laying in that bed, it changed my life for the better. I will tell you, as hard as it was, standing on that beach and all the guilt that I felt, all of the horrific things that were happening, and as a result of that moment of standing on that beach, that changed my life for the better. And it wasn't obviously the loss of him that made it better. No, it's something you have to deal with in my own way. I had to deal with that as well as his family had to deal with it. We all had to process it. But what I left with that, I looked at it as, this is a lesson here, dude. And don't you fucking dare squander it. Don't you dare take this lesson and just push it under the rug and say, well, that sucked, but, you know, time to move on. It was, no, I got to be great now. That your moment on the floor was my moment on the beach. And it's that okay, you can't fucking turn back now. Because to me, in my eyes in the beginning, I owed it to him to be fucking great. I owed it to him to say, listen, if I can help somebody, then that makes us, we're even now, right? Yeah, I mean, there you are. You're not here anymore. And I say it's my fault that you're not. And the way that we're going to be even now is if I can change my life and help somebody else change theirs, then it's all for good.
Yeah.
And I think that was the same with you. With if I can make it through this, then I'm worthy. I'm worthy of it. And that's the feeling of to where we are today. Of course, you think about that moment, you laying on the floor, and I remember that. And the struggles that we went through today, we don't have those thoughts. Today our struggles are different now.
Yeah, that's it.
Our struggles are
from a higher awareness.
But they're still there.
Yeah.
The other day I was laying in bed because I got sick, and I'm just thinking, man, this is just horrible. This sucks. I'm thinking of all the things that are wrong in my life, and I'm like, dude, what are you fucking doing? Like, you laid in a bed just looking at your fingers saying move, and they wouldn't. And now you have everything that you asked for in that moment, and so much more, but yet still you're going to be fucking a miserable prick, right? You're going to be angry, and you're going to be, and man, so many people would die to have this life that you have, you unselfish, you selfish prick. And I really had to kind of get to that moment, but it really is bringing it back to, if that is something that you're struggling with, that welcome to the human condition, because it is overcoming the human condition. I really believe that's what we're here for. We're here to discover the God inside us all. And the number one way, it's unfortunate, but the number one way I think we reach that moment of greatness is to go through ungodly struggle, because that's what brings it. Otherwise, if you were only taking 2 a day, then it would be mother's little helper, and it would be okay. And maybe I'm not hiding behind the shame so much, but if you're hiding behind this curtain of shame, I'm going to beg you to fucking use it. Use that pain to step out from behind it and show yourself, because I'm not going to say that you're a child of God. You are fucking God. You are God having a human experience. And it can suck. It can suck, and it can be the most beautiful thing ever. And man, I have been in that room, in that, workshop, Dr. Joe workshops, and in my own bed, in my own meditative chair, in wherever, on a boat in the sunshine and beauty of the world, and felt that love of God. Right? I've been in your arms and felt that love of God. And that feeling comes from inside us, not from what we're looking at. Right? So if anything, that to me is the one thing that I am so fucking passionate about, is to get people to move to that place that they are so terrified to move to, because we've been there, we've been through it, and we ripped down that fucking curtain. We didn't step behind it. We had to rip it down, because it'll stay in front of you always. You can move through it, but man, it finds its way back in front of you. So there really is a time where you just have to tear it down, and you can't judge yourself along the way, because you're gonna fuck up.
Well, the judgment is actually the addiction.
It is.
The judgment
100%.
afterwards, after you take the pills, or after you have the drink, or after you wake up the next morning, judgment is the addiction.
Yeah, because then it's self-judgment.
Yeah.
And,
And that's actually what keeps you doing the thing that you're doing.
And I mean, just like you with Estelle, with, coming clean about your greatest shame. And of course, my greatest shame was, here I am, this business owner that looks successful, yet I owe 350,000 fucking dollars, an absorbent amount that how will I ever, and it just keeps climbing, like it doesn't fucking stop. How is this ever going to go away? And the way I felt about it, the shame that I felt about it, the judgment showed up on the outside by, the IRS agent saying, we don't care, you're paying the whole fucking thing, and it was like, the victim. And then when sitting down and finally telling that story to Margie, a business owner, and her reaction wasn't exactly what I was expecting. Well, when she said, well, congratulations, you made it. You're a business owner. What do you mean? Well, we had one. We had an IRS debt. Everybody does. They chained our yacht to a dock. And that was, I loved that woman in that moment so much because she made me feel I wasn't a fraud.
Yeah. Accepted.
I felt loved and I felt accepted. I was in her club.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, that feeling is literally all we are all
That's
after.
all we are.
That's it.
That's all we are.
To be seen unconditionally, to be loved unconditionally, to be held unconditionally, to be told there's nothing wrong with you. You aren't a bad person. Yeah. None of those things are actually true. Like that is the moment that we truly, truly are all after.
And it doesn't come only in the form of, addiction doesn't only come in the form of, well, I have a gambling or I have a porn or I have a prescription pain pill addiction. It's addiction of guilt. It's addiction of not measuring up. It's an addiction of not being seen. Yeah. It's an addiction of never being enough, or the addiction of lack, or whatever. That's really what it all comes to. And you're a breathing God. Yeah.
And so to make this sort of practical, because you guys always hear me, talk about the practical side of it. When, I always say I have a unique perspective on withdrawal and detoxing and addiction because I was an addict in the realm of our coaching business. Because listen, work can become an addiction. I know for me over the last 4 years in building, this business, that easily can become my martyrism. Like, look at how hard I work. I'm worthy of, all of the things. And so that is something that I struggled with, not because it's the work that's the addiction, it's the feeling underneath it again. So to make it practical, there's a process that we walk people through in both of our courses. Doesn't happen overnight, but it's a process. And through this process, they actually withdraw chemically from themselves as they go through our programs. They actually experience physical chemical withdrawal because they are no longer living by the same chemicals in their body every single day. So to make this like really easy to understand, shame, judgment, guilt, fear, those are chemicals that you experience in your body on a day-to-day basis. They are actually chemicals. So people say to us that, are in our courses or whatever else, they'll say, well, why would I be addicted to guilt? That doesn't feel good in my body. Well, because your body doesn't know feel good or feel bad. It just feels, as you say, And so the operating system is going off of guilt. That's it. So when they go through this process that we take them through, and they actually begin to detox. They go through the same process that I went through, not as intense, of course, in those 24 hours, but their body they'll get itchy skin. Sure. They'll have trouble sleeping. They'll, all sorts of ways. They'll get rashes a lot of times. Their body is actually getting used to being different chemically.
Because you're not just experiencing guilt. You have a factory in your body that produces the chemical of guilt. And when that when you go off a line of guilt, oh, okay, I'm not going to feel guilt anymore.
Right.
I'm going to feel something different.
Right.
Every time guilt feeling
Yeah.
comes up, I'm going to be aware and I'm going to change. Yeah, well, there's a factory in there saying, well, clearly she don't know what the fuck she's doing, because we have this factory because she asked for it. We built this factory that delivers guilt chemicals on a second-to-second basis, and now she's thinking that she's not going to use us anymore?
Yeah.
False. Turn up the production line.
Yeah.
We need extra.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they say, I don't get it. I feel worse.
Yeah.
And then we shock them by saying, good.
It's working.
Because it's working.
It's working.
You just sent the signal to the mind that said, this isn't going to work for me anymore. So you better come up with a new factory. You better come up with a new feeling, because I'm not going to respond to guilt anymore. Every time you put it in front of me, I'm going to push it away, and I'm going to feel it. I know I'm going to feel it, but I'm going to be aware of what you've been up to all this time, Mr. Mind.
Yeah.
I know that you have been in the background. You have been the one that has been dressing me every single day in these feelings that I don't want to be. And now I'm on to you. And the mind, it's going into battle. It will battle you with everything it has. And its secret agent is the chemical factories that are in your body. So it is the starving of those.
Well, it's
factories.
like, people say to us all the time on our weekly calls, like, why is this so hard? Why can't I'm like, okay, it's like you just smoked for 40 years and all of a sudden you wake up one day and you say, okay, I'm going to quit smoking.
Yep.
And do you think that you are not going to go through a process where your body is going to say, you need a cigarette? You absolutely need a cigarette right now. Like, no matter what, you need to smoke. If you can think in terms of that when it comes to addiction, it's the same thing that you're going through. That's why I say it's never the substance that's the problem. It's the emotions underneath that you're addicted to, that the substance you're trying to cover up with. That's all. You're just trying to cover up those feelings because those feelings started the first 7 years of your life. So the first step, so we're going to give you the first step to this. Because the problem is most people don't know that they're an addict, and they don't know what those chemical factories are, because you've been being you for so long. You think it's just you. You think those are just how you feel. So we're going to give you the first step to start applying this so that you can become aware. Because the first step is what?
It's
awareness. It's always going to be awareness.
The awareness of the feeling that you're feeling in the moment.
Yes.
And when, not just saying, oh, well, here it comes again. It's like, no, here it comes again. And I don't want to feel this anymore. That is huge step.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Awareness is 90% of it. It's actually more. And the remainder percent is action. Yeah. In actually choosing to feel something else.
Yes.
And there are so many steps to that. There's, a year from today, right? Your perfect, your perfect average day, 1 year from today, whatever today is, this is my life. This is what I wake up to. This is who is in my bathroom. This is, where I'm going when I get in my car. This is the car that I'm getting into. All the things, because we don't do that. We go the opposite. We think of all the things that are going to be taken away from us instead of, what we're going to have. And this is how I feel. And just in all these little tricks, and that, we help people understand along the way. But I will tell you, and we had this call the other night with somebody, right, who was, I just feel like I'm going crazy. That's what his comment was. I just feel like I'm losing my mind, and help me. And the thing that we said that changed everything for him was, this is normal. This is called the awakening process.
You are losing your mind,
and you are
it's
losing
a good
your
thing.
mind. You are losing it. You are letting go. You are changing who you thought you were all along. This character is literally a character. You are a character, and you are changing into a different character. And that is a physical process. That is an emotional process. Your body is trying to keep up to your mind, and it is literally changing the cellular structure in your body. And that's why it is so goddamn uncomfortable until one day you realize, wait a minute, I feel pretty fucking good. I don't have that anymore. And the people around me, they're not a whole bunch of assholes anymore. Like, I have people around me that really care about me because I care about me. And it's so funny and it's so incredible to watch. Like, I love with our workshops when people come up in the end, in our closing ceremony of our workshop, which really is brilliant. It's a beautiful experience to experience and to watch people go through. But to watch them literally change, and physically, and they come to me and they come to you and they say, "Don't you ever dare stop doing what you're doing because you have no idea what you have done for me." And I know that feeling. I've had that feeling, you know, and it's very humbling to say it really doesn't have anything to do with me, my dear. It's all you, because I just showed you the road to walk and you walked it. Yeah. But you fucking walked it. Yeah. And I'm here standing there telling you can do it.
I did my walk. We did our walks.
We did our walks.
For sure. We will take 100% ownership of that.
100%. Yeah. And that's our greatness. Yeah. But I'm not great because I did it for you. Yeah. You know, you're great because you did it for you. Yeah. And that is, it can be a very, very lonely walk, this awakening process, but it is fucking necessary if you want to be free.
That's right. So we will wrap it up there. Hopefully, again, we added some value and gave you a different perspective on how to proceed or approach addiction, because we're all addicts. We are all addicts.
Totally addicts.
We're totally addicts. So
totally addicts.
Something to walk away with, a tool that we give people that work with us. Start writing down at the end of every night the emotions that you felt during the day. Like, that was the very, very first step in my own process, was just writing down, how did I feel today? Did I feel unworthiness? Many times wrote that. I felt like a victim many times today. I felt angry many times today. Like, just that process of writing down at the end of every night. Take 3 minutes to just start writing down, what did you feel today? Because in that process, you will become aware. And if you start to become aware at the end of the night when you did that, guess what? You're going to start becoming more aware in the moments. Yep. And that's really the entryway to change. So, again, if you liked what we had to say, please feel free to like and subscribe so that, you know, we can bring more nonsense to you, or hopefully some value along the way too. And comment below. Tell us what you liked, what you resonated with, what was helpful, what you want to hear more from us, because we're going to be taking your ideas and talking about all things. We've got all sorts of tricks up our sleeve, I guess maybe we don't. I don't know.
I don't have any sleeves, honey. I'm sleeveless.
Okay.
So
until next time, don't forget, like, subscribe. If you're listening to this on the audio versions, leave a review. Tell us how you liked it. And click the little bell so that you'll be notified every time an episode comes out. And, you know, what do you say?
Oh.
Go find it.
Go find it.
Go find it, people. Until next time.
Go find your freedom.
See ya.